Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have another collaboration beer which should be really interesting to try. So we've got two really good breweries involved with this one today. So we're going to return to London and do another beer from Weird Brewing Company, and this one was done in collaboration with Tiny Rebel, who are from Newport in the south of Wales, just next to Cardiff, and both of these breweries have a really good reputation and it's well deserved in my experience. But today we're going to have a little look at a beer that they've produced together called Cardinal Wolf. So this one is a Belgian style double IPA and it comes in at 8.4%, and from what I understand it uses the Styrian Wolf hop from Slovenia, which I've tried once or twice before and it's really nice actually. It gives you this lovely kind of melon and sort of blueberry raspberry kind of flavour. It's one that I've really enjoyed, and you don't see all that many beers using it simply for the fact that Slovenia is a very small country, so the production of this hop isn't very big, but it does seem to be really popular among the brewers, and I know personally that it does have a really nice flavour. And I'm a big fan of the Belgian IPA style as well, so I'm really interested to see how this one turns out. So as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer, because I'm certainly looking forward to it. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, link to my other reviews that I've done both from Weird Brewing Company and also from Tiny Rebel. I will add more to both in the near future, I'm sure. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, prefecture, county, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There are ones there both for my English beer reviews and for my Welsh ones, and I am adding to both of those whenever I can. And please get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Weird Brewing Company first off then. So this brewery, as I've told you before, is from West London, and it was started by two home brewers who are Greg and Brian, and they won quite a few awards back in their home brewing days, so they decided to turn professional and establish their own brewery. So the brewery are now of course based in the Boston Business Estate in Hanwell in West London, and they are part of the kind of boom of London craft breweries, if you like. These guys are very highly rated, and quite rightly so in my experience. But the guys say that their beers are inspired by both the American craft beer movement and also the British kind of real ale movement as well. But they go out and actively promote their beers quite a lot. You'll find them often doing tastings and tap takeovers and all of these sorts of things. But the reason for the name Weird was the fact that everyone involved with the brewery tends to have a quite impressive facial hair arrangement, I guess you would say. So that was why they decided to name the brewery Weird. But like I said, these guys are probably one of the best craft breweries you're going to find in England at the moment. They're doing some really interesting stuff. They're probably one of the most prolific ones as well, actually. They're always playing about, and a lot of the other breweries in England, such as, you know, Magic Rock and Northern Monk and things like that, they seem to be focusing a lot on the IPAs these days. But Weird are ones who still like to do lots of different types of styles and things like that. I'm sure Craig at Kent Beer Reviews, he did a Rauch beer and then a chili Rauch beer and something like that recently. So one of the plus points you can say about Weird is that they always do lots of different styles, whereas some of the other really good breweries in England do seem to be sticking more and more to the IPA. But it's a brewery that I really recommend you check out should you get the chance to. So yeah, anyway, on to Tiny Rebel then, the Welsh half of this beer. So Tiny Rebel Brewery was founded back in 2008 by Gaz and Brad, who used to homebrew in a garage, and they became pretty good at it. So in 2010 the idea for the Tiny Rebel Brewery was born, and then their official launch came in February of 2012. I believe it was the Urban IPA was one of the beers that they first released, but they're based in Newport, which is to the east of Cardiff of course. But in 2013 they went on to do very well at the Great Welsh Beer Festival, and they won gold, silver and bronze with 3 of their different beers in the Champion Beer of Wales competition. But 4 months later they opened Cardiff's first ever craft beer bar, which was called Urban Tap House, and in 2017 they moved to their new brewery, which can apparently brew up to 5 million litres of beer per year, and they now export to various different countries across the world. They were saying it was 20 different countries they export it, and I do know you can get their beers in Japan. I'm not sure about other places. I think maybe in Australia you can as well. I think I've seen some of the Tiny Rebel beers when I was in Australia a couple of years ago, and they're employing around 50 people. But Tiny Rebel are probably the best known Welsh craft brewery these days. I might be wrong about that, but at least in Scotland and further afield it seems to be that they are the kind of premier Welsh craft brewer at the moment. But in my experience they produce some really nice stuff. I think this might only be my second review involving Tiny Rebel, so they are a brewery that that I do need to make sure and try some more of their beers, because I've seen the English guys reviewing a lot of them, like Craig and Dean and Harry. They've been reviewing things like Cooch and all the other kind of beers that they do, and they seem to rate them very highly. So Tiny Rebel is one that I do need to catch up with at some point, but both very good breweries. If you want to learn more about them, of course, do check out the links to the brewery websites and Facebook pages and stuff like that in the description below. But that's all you need to know about the breweries for just now. Let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So yeah, as I mentioned to you, this one is an 8.4% double IPA, a Belgian style double IPA. It tells you a little bit on the side here about Weird Beard, but it also tells you a little bit about the beer as well. So it says here, a wolf is always going to be a wolf. We all know the saying, no matter how you dress it up, a sheep's fleece, an official uniform, or even as a member of the clergy. This beer is no different, hiding its true intentions behind the disguise of juicy banana, pineapple and lemongrass. For the second of our collaborations with Tiny Rebel, we invited them to West London to brew this Belgian double IPA. Fermented with a blend of Belgian and American yeast at a lower temperature, you get fruity esters mingled with bold, cracked pepper, combined with some new Slovenian hops. The drinker can be fooled into thinking this is an innocent little number. Do not be fooled, this beer has teeth, and with an ABV at 8.4%, this wolf will have you on your knees if you don't keep your wits about you. So yeah, nicely presented this one there. You can see the kind of typical Weird Beard Brewing Company artwork on this one. You can of course see these kind of skulls. That of course is the signature of Weird Beard Brewing Company, and they always have different bottle caps for their beers actually. So if you're a fan of this brewery, you can collect the various different bottle caps that they do. I've got about 7 or 8 of them now actually, and I just like to collect these ones. But I think I'm going to try and steam the label off this one and keep it. But at the top here, of course, you can see the Weird Beard Brewing Company symbol, and then the kind of patchwork bear sort of thing is the Tiny Rebel symbol. But really nicely presented this one, but that is kind of what you expect from Weird Beard Brewing Company. They do some really quite nice artwork on their beers. But without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. So yeah, nice smoky opening then, and you can smell some of that nice fruit actually. But let's get this guy out and into the glass, and I tell you something, I can already smell a little bit of that sort of melony note from the from the Styrian Wolf. As I said to you, the Styrian Wolf, if it is in there, I'm guessing that's why they've called this beer the Cardinal Wolf. There are various other Slovenian hops and things like that, such as the Salaya and things like that, but the Styrian Wolf, from what I understand, is the one that they've used in this. But it looks really nice. If I hold this up to the light, it's got a really kind of hazy, bright orangey colour, this one. It almost looks a bit like a Trip Ale, but it's a little bit more orange. I always found the Trip Ale is a little bit more golden than this one. There's a solid half finger of a frothy head on this one. It's got a little bit of a cream tinge to it, but it is almost perfectly white. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going out up towards the bottom of that head, sorry. But you can see, if I put my fingers behind the glass, the beer is pretty opaque. There's not a lot of transparency to that, but I'll just hold up to the camera and let you have a little quick look at the colour of that one. It is very, very nice actually. So yeah, that's all you'll need to know about the appearance, but you can get some of these lovely fruity esters just coming off it as you move it around. I'm definitely getting some melon off this, I think. But let's have a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Oh yeah, it's actually, when you go closer into it, it's a lot yeastier than it comes across just when you pull it out of the bottle. But it's a really nice smelling beer, that. So yeah, as you would expect from the Belgian yeast strain, you're getting some nice kind of big, doughy, bready sort of yeasty notes. That typical kind of slightly banana note. There's a little bit of that kind of clovey spice in there as well. Maybe a little bit of wheat. It does seem to have a little bit of a kind of wheaty smoothness to it, I would say. They did say, I think, on the website that they used a little bit of US 05 in this one. And I think this is a very, very recent release as well, because it didn't, when I checked it out on Rate Beer, it didn't even have a rating yet. There was only 5 or 6 people had actually tried this beer, so I'm really interested just to see how this one turns out. But that's a really nice smelling beer. I do wonder if they've used some of the other Slovenian hops in it as well, because I can pick up a little bit of that melony note that you expect from the Styrian Wolf. But there is that, like they were saying on the bottle, there is a wee bit of a sort of tropical pineapple-y note, which to me, I think that might be Salaya, or I think there's Dana as well from Slovenia. It'll probably be one of these other hops. But it's interesting because even though you have these big high alpha acid hops from Slovenia, you do get this almost noble hop character out of them as well. You can pick out a good little bit of floral character. There's a little bit of that kind of lighter grassy note in there as well. And I've always found that with those Slovenian hops, they have a really nice kind of juicy fruity character, but at the same time they have that almost German kind of noble hop quality to them in behind that. So they're always really interesting. I do wish they could produce some of the Slovenian hops on a bigger scale, but of course it's a geographically very small country, only 2.1 million people or something like that, so it's a very, very small place, but a really nice country from what I hear. And also, of course, I've done quite a few Slovenian beer reviews thanks to Davor. But yeah, really nice smelling beer. As I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you actually get stuck into it, but it smells like a kind of typical Belgian IPA, but with a little bit of that German noble hop quality and some interesting fruits, maybe a little bit of melon. There's almost a little bit of kind of red berry note and some citrusy character coming out as well, a little bit of lemongrassy note, I would say. Maybe even just a little bit of tropical fruit. But yeah, it should be really nice. So let's get stuck into this one then. So this is the Cardinal Wolf, a collaboration beer between Tiny Rebel Brewing Company from Newport in South Wales and the Weird Beer Brew Company from Hanwell in West London. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte. That's pretty damn good. It's not quite what I was expecting actually. The first impression I have of this beer is that it really is quite smooth. I like how that comes across. One of the best Belgian IPAs I think I've had was probably the Belgisk IPA, which was from Halnbrygeriet up in Drammen in Norway. That's a really, really nice one. And it's just so smooth. It's got that lovely light bready character to it, and then just some nice juicy fruity hops. This one I think leans a little bit more towards the kind of yeasty character, and I do like that. It's just got a kind of different quality to it. And the Slovenian hops give it a completely different feel as well. As I always say, sugar the beer around your palate a little bit and let your whole mouth adjust to it before you start analysing the flavour too much. But this is really nice. It's not going to blow your head in terms of IBUs, certainly not. This one for me is more of a kind of juicy Belgian IPA rather than anything else. But that again, if you actually try the Slovenian beers, they tend to actually like them really juicy, and maybe it's just because of the local hops that they have. It's maybe just something that's kind of evolved for their palates over time. But that's good. I just like how that comes across. Everything. This one isn't about any particular element of the beer. It's more about how the beer, how all these different flavours kind of fuse together, and it does it really well actually. I mean, when you've got two breweries of this calibre involved in it, you wouldn't expect anything less than a quality beer, and that is what you're getting. And I think I paid about £4 for this beer, so it's pretty good value as well actually for an 8.4% double IPA. So let's have a little look at this then. So across the middle of your palate, as you would expect, you've got there's a little bit of that kind of pale malt quality, but on top of that, you can feel a little bit of that kind of bready note just sitting there. You get that doughy yeasty character, which is the thicker thing coming from the Belgian malts, but you can feel just that lighter note, which is the US-05. The US-05, I've always found, it's a really popular kind of dry yeast for home brewers, and it just gives you this really distinctive kind of slightly pale malty bready character in the middle of your palate, but you can definitely feel the nice Belgian yeast on top of that with the slightly thicker doughy yeasty notes. There is a little bit of banana in there, but that comes out a little bit more as you go further towards the aftertaste. There's a wee bit of a kind of peppery or clovey spice in there. You can feel that right in the middle of your tongue, and you will get just a little tiny little bit of bitterness off that. And I think there's a little bit of a biscuity flavour right in the middle of the palate as well. So a lot of the complexities that you're getting out of this beer, you will find them in the middle of your palate. But it's really nice and really smooth, this one. I just like how everything goes together in this beer that well. Like I said, it's not going to be punchy in any one regard. It's all about how these flavours just go together. And that little bit of spicy character that the malt base has, it builds a good kind of bridge between the kind of malt base and estery flavours and the hoppy side of things. But in the back corners of the palate, I'm getting a wee bit of earthiness out of it. It's actually got a little bit of darkness to it, the earthy character. It's not quite as light as you would expect from the German noble hops, but as you come further forward, you can feel that floral aromatic character coming out of the sides of the palate. It's got a little bit of an almost spicy character as well, and that fits in well with that slightly peppery, clovey kind of spice that I was talking about from the esters in this one, the yeasty esters. But it's a really nice beer, this one, make no mistake about that. But around the front curve of the palate, it gets a little bit more lighter and grassy, and that's where you're getting some of these kind of almost lemongrassy notes out of the beer. It definitely has a little bit of a slightly lemony citric note around the very front curve of your palate. But now, of course, it's the edge of the tongue, the very edges of your palate, where all these nice kind of hoppy flavours are going to come out. But it does it really, really well. If you just go behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you're going to get that little oily bubble where these nice fruity esters come out. There is a little bit of a kind of dark citric sharpness to this one. You can feel that just underpinning the beer. But as you go further on, there is a wee bit of tropical fruit coming out. I'm getting a little bit, as you go further into the flavour, you can get this almost kind of candied red fruit flavour. Like I said, the Styrian Wolf tends to give you a little bit of berry notes, and it's a wee bit, it's not quite raspberry, it's not tart enough for raspberry, it's maybe along the lines of a blueberry or maybe a redberry, something like that. You can get a little bit of that almost berry-like flavour out of this beer, and there is just a wee bit of that kind of melony note, watermelony note coming out of this beer. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that melony note that is typical of the Styrian Wolf. It's a beautiful, beautiful hop. I really would love to brew one of these kind of New England hazy style IPAs with the Styrian Wolf. I think it would be really, really nice, and I think it would be a very interesting hop to pair with the like of Nelson Sauvin. I mean, in terms of feel, I've always felt the Styrian Wolf is a little bit like Nelson Sauvin. It's got that typical juicy quality, but just a different flavour profile. It's kind of like melon being substituted for that white grapey note. But it's a really nice beer, this one. There is a little bit of a tropical fruit note. There's a teeny little bit of grapefruit there that just underpins the flavour of the fruity notes, and you can feel a little bit of that darker lemony citric too. There is a wee bit, I'm not really getting the pineapple that they were talking about in this one. For me, it's more leaning towards the melony note, and there's a little bit of that dark kind of grapefruity character just underpinning it, and then you start to get these more kind of complex notes just as the flavour progresses. But make no mistake, this is a nice beer, and in terms of the alcohol that it has, it covers it really well. You can just get a little bit of booziness in the middle of the palate, but overall it does cover it really quite nicely. But that's a good beer. Have a go at this if you get the chance. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say it's mid-bodied. The carbonation is pretty smooth. It's got quite an oily mouthfeel, but at the same time it is a little bit chalky. Again, that's because of the Belgian estery yeast. I mean, you always find that the tripels and the quadrupels and stuff like this, they do have a little bit of an oily character to them, but they have a little bit of that almost chalky note as well. There is a little bit of hoppy bitterness. You can feel the bitterness just kind of rising a little bit as you go further and further into the aftertaste. The malt base is quite smooth. It does have a little bit of spicy character to it, and the fruity notes are quite nice and juicy as well. But overall, like I said, this is a really nice beer, and you wouldn't expect anything else when you've got these two breweries involved. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again, and it has, as I said, one of my favourite Belgian IPAs that I've had before was the Belgian IPA, which was from Hamburg area up in Drammen in Norway. This one has a completely different feel to it. It's just a little bit more kind of bold and spicy in terms of the malt base. The other one was a little bit better balanced than this, but this for me is a really quite nice beer, and it's a style that I really enjoy, so I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. And it is really quirky for the fact that you get to see how some of these Slovenian hops kind of work in with this Belgian IPA style. It actually goes really well, and I did try a kind of a saison from Oedipus over in the Netherlands that used the Styrian Wolf, and that turned out really nicely. So maybe there is going to be a growing demand for this hop, and we'll see it a little bit more often. But there is a really good beer market thriving over there in Slovenia, and it's good to see some of the English and Welsh breweries starting to pick pick up on that. Hopefully some of the Scottish brewers do it as well. But yeah, it's been really cool to review this one for you. The Cardinal Wolf, a collaboration between Weirbeard from London and Tiny Rebel from Newport in Wales. A really nice beer, and I do recommend you have a go at this one. But thank you once again for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below, and let me know what your favourite beers are from Weirbeard and from Tiny Rebel as well. And hopefully I can review a few more Tiny Rebel ones for you over the next little while, because it's a brewery that I really do need to catch up on. But thank you once again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you try this beer. Slanger just now.